Hey everyone! So today I'm going to be doing a quick review and swatch video on the new Morphe and Kathleenlights palette. This palette just launched and I'm really excited that I was able to get my hands on it because I know that it actually sold out in, I believe it was 2 days. So that's pretty crazy, but Kathleen said that she was going to be working on getting some more palettes back in stock, so just keep an eye out for that. So the palette actually comes in this Morphe box and it says Kathleenlights on it, and it has just lights all around it and also a picture of, also a picture of Kathleen and a cute little message that came from her. And so the palette itself is actually a matte black palette, and it's really nice. It has one of those magnetic closures, which is nice because usually the Morphe palettes have the little click close and they're plastic, but this one is actually cardboard. And I actually prefer this because it's way slimmer that way. And I travel a ton, so having a palette that I can take with me with a ton of different like neutrals and also fun colors as well is super convenient. So opening up the palette, we have all of the colors right here. These are the colors. Here you go. And we have a mixture of mattes, shimmers, and also kind of like metallic colors. Like this like frosty green color is super pigmented, and we'll get to that in the swatches. I actually really enjoy these colors. I usually gravitate towards like shimmery colors like this for my lid, and this one as well. Like I like this taupey frosty color that it is. God, it's so bright. I'm so sorry. So in this palette, you have 15 different colors. There's a matte black here, of course, and I believe like a matte bone color, but there's also like a shimmery highlight color as well. You have your browns in here. You also have some purples right in this corner, and also some pretty greens. And usually I don't really wear like bright colors like green. That's why a palette like this would be perfect for someone like me, because it still gives you that option if you wanted it, but you didn't have to go out and spend money on just a single shadow that you might not even use very often. So, you know, if I'm feeling fun or something, or like funky, then maybe I would use these greens. But this green color actually looks pretty wearable, and I think that I could work that into some looks. But this half of the palette I could see myself using a ton. I love these purple shades, especially for the fall and winter. I love those colors, and just all the browns in general I would wear throughout the year, honestly. This color right here is really interesting. I know that it's a very trendy color right now, and it's really great for transitioning. I know that during the summer I get very, very tan, and colors like those work so well for transitioning light browns to dark browns and like coppery colors on my lids. So I really enjoy those types of colors. I can see myself getting a lot of use out of that. And it reminds me of MAC Uninterrupted, the Pro eyeshadow from MAC, and I have that color too, but I feel like this one might be a little easier to blend. So as for the texture of the eyeshadows, they're super, super buttery, very pigmented. But one bad thing is that you do get a little bit of fallout just because it is really pigmented. I noticed today, because I used the palette on my eyes today, and I noticed that they kicked up a lot of powder, which isn't a terrible thing to me, honestly. I would rather be able to get a lot of pigment, especially for like shimmery shades and stuff. So just be mindful of that. I mean, it can get a little messy, and you do want to make sure that you just do a light tap of your brushes into the shadows if you don't want a ton of pigment at one time. I have a couple of Morphe palettes. I have the Morphe 350 palette and also the 35 warm palette, I believe it is. I love those palettes. I don't use them too often, I will admit, because the 350 is a really nice palette. I just haven't really gotten to using it a ton because I do have a lot of palettes that I like using day to day, and just like a huge bulky palette like that is kind of hard, especially if you're traveling a lot. So that's another reason why I like the small package of this palette. So to give you guys a little example of how pigmented these shadows are, I'm going to go ahead and swatch a couple of these. I'm going to do a light shade, a brown shade, and then a dark one. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch this shade right here, the bone color. So they're really buttery. They're very nice. And I love the pigmentation on these. So let's see if I can do this. So there's a swatch, and that's the bone color right there. This brown color actually has a tiny bit of shimmer, but once you actually blend it in, I used it as a transition shade today. Once you blend it into your crease or wherever you use it, you honestly can't really see that it has shimmer in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch that one. And there's that shade right there. And a swatch, ooh, I don't know if I can do this. So on my skin right now, I'm very tan right now, and I don't think you can see it because of my lighting, but it's very pigmented as well right there. And then for fun, I'm gonna swatch this purple shade. I think this is one of my favorite shades in the palette. Honestly, I don't have a plummy purple like this. I usually have like reddish purples that I gravitate towards, but I used this plum shade today and I loved it. It was so pretty. I put it in my outer corner, so I'm gonna go ahead and swatch that. This one does feel a little more gritty than the other two shades that I did swatch, but it still gives off a ton of pigment, and there's that one right there. So I'm gonna swatch that. And there's that. Oh, that looks a little chalky, honestly. I didn't expect that. Well, when I put it on my eyelids, I thought that it went on super smoothly. Maybe it just didn't swatch very well. So that's everything that I have to say about the palette. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but the palette did retail for $14.99, but Kathleen did have a discount code with Morphe. It gave you 10%, and she linked it in her video. So if you guys want to go look for that once the palette does go back in stock, then definitely do that. I really recommend it. That's what I did. And yeah, so I hope this was helpful for you guys, and I hope you enjoy the swatches, and I'll see you guys soon. So I did want to mention that I just finished doing the swatches for the palette, and as I was doing the swatches, I did realize that the more matte colors did come out a little more chalky, a little powdery in the swatches, but whenever I was using them to do my makeup today, they seemed perfectly fine, but it might just be because for the swatches, ooh, that's that. For the swatches, it was a larger amount of pigment coming off, so just keep that in mind. And like I said, they did kick up a little more fallout than the shimmers did.